Hi, Melanie Muenchinger, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I'm sharing a card that I made with my Stately Flowers 5 set, the sunflower, along with using this herringbone border that I have in my Pretty Patterns 2 set. Both of those are from Gina K Designs. This sunflower is one of my favorites in the Stately Flowers series. The Stately Flowers 5 set also contains some mistletoe so that you can do lots of cards for Thanksgiving and for Christmas with that mistletoe, but don't let that fool you because this sunflower I use spring, summer, and fall. It's a really nice, big, versatile image. Going to be coloring it with some alcohol markers today. I'm using the Spectrum Noir, but I will also provide the Copic colors below. I'm using the CG2, CG4, for the leaves, CT2 for the petals, GB8 for some shadows, IG2 for the shadow around the image, which is a nice ice gray, and then I'm going to also be using the True Black. The True Black is what I used on this button, so I'm also using a wooden button for today's card. These are new embellishments from Gina K, and I'm really excited about them. I tried stamping the sunflower on it just to see what would happen, and the ink wicks into the wood grain a lot. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend stamping on these buttons, but the great thing about these being so absorbent is that with just a few flicks of an alcohol marker, you can change the embellishments to be any color that you want. So that's a really nice way to make these embellishments even more versatile. This is my favorite one in that new button pack. They're all different though, so that's why I just showed you with a different one. I also used a little bit of jute to tie that embellishment. I've got some cardstock here, the Pure Luxury Sweet Corn, Black Onyx, and White. 2 ink pads today, the Gina K Black Onyx for stamping the image and the sentiment, and then the Sweet Corn for stamping that herringbone border from Pretty Patterns 2, and it coordinates with the cardstock. Have some scissors for cutting out a mask. This is a really nice way to cover up your image and just add a pattern right to that background. And then finally I'm going to be using the Spectrum Noir blendable pencils. This is the Essentials collection, so it's going to give you all the different shades that you need to start with. So this is a really good collection to start with. So I haven't really paired pencils and markers that much just because I didn't have that many pencil shades before, but it's a really nice way to add texture and more shading to your image, because since the markers blend together so well, it's really hard to make fine little details with them since they blend together. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm also going to be using the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen, the white, and show you how to bring out some details if you have a really dark part of your image. So it's just a kind of a nice little trick. I'm going to start by stamping the sunflower, and I'm going to put a mouse pad underneath it. You'll see that this image has a lot of really fine detail to it, and if you're using a very juicy pad, sometimes you can lose some of that image even if it's deeply etched. The ink doesn't have anywhere to go when it's really inky, and so you'll lose some of those little details in the middle. So putting a mouse pad under the clear stamp, this really helps you kind of have a cushion like when you're stamping with rubber. All right, so I'm going to go off just a little bit to the left and pick that up. Okay. And I'm going to stamp my greeting last since I'm going to be going over this with my border. So you also need some long border stamps. You want to make sure that you're not picking up any ink from that stamped sentiment and then transferring it the next time that you stamp it. So we'll stamp that last, and it's going to keep it nice and crisp. Okay, so this is one that I already cut out. We're just going to cover that up, and I'm going to ink this up with the Sweet Corn. Okay, right there so you can see it. I'm just going to stamp right over it so you can see I already have that pattern on there. I've made this card a couple times now. I'm going to ink it up again. A lot of you asked for a wider shot. I'm trying to keep it a little bit closer today so you'll be able to see my coloring on the image. I'm trying to keep my head out of the way as I'm stamping this border. And if you get a little space in between, that's okay. You can just make that look intentional as you go along. So if you have a little space, then maybe make a little more space the next time, or you can vary it so that it goes back and forth. And place it down again. And if that bugs you, if it's popping up, and it's starting to pop up a little bit more just because it's gotten ink on this a couple times now from me doing this border, then you can just put a little removable adhesive underneath it. And the last one. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to pull the flower away. All right. Now we can go ahead and do that sentiment. And if you prefer to put this on a die cut, you could do that as well. And it says, I'm beginning to learn. It is the sweet, simple things of life, which are the real ones after all. This is a quote by Laura Ingalls Wilder. She's from one of the states in that set, which is why I chose it. All right, so let's begin doing our coloring. And if you want, you can use the chisel tip, since this has really big space for those petals, and then go back and fill it in with the finer point. We're going to add some shading to this so that it's not such a bright yellow, but this is just my base that I'm laying down. Okay, so that's all filled in. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this GB8, and I'm just going to add just some little flicking strokes, covering up those little contour lines that you see, creating the shadows and then those veins in the middle. And then I'm also going to put them at the tips because the petal's bending over, so you have light here, but then you have a darker part here and here where it's flipping away. So we'll put that on the ends. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to take the chisel tip. I'm going to fill in this center here. So this is what I wanted to talk about, that if you go look at a sunflower at the grocery store or farmer's market, you'll see that it has some lighter little dots inside. But instead of trying to go around all those little images or those little openings in the center, what you can do instead is go over it first with your dark color and then dab back in the parts that you either want to be white or lighter, and then you can go over that with your lighter shade, so it's like you're creating white cardstock again on top of the brown. Okay? All right, now let's go ahead and we'll fill in the green really quickly. I'm going to do this with the bullet tip. So you see, as soon as I put on this light color, it already looks shaded because of that image. So this is one of the reasons I like this flower so much. It doesn't need a lot of shading. But I am going to go ahead and add a darker green over that. Grab the wrong end. So put in some of that dark green, and I'm just going over the blackest areas to decide where I want to add. I'm just working quickly. You can blend them together with that lighter green if you want to, going underneath right there. And I go ahead and put it right over the areas that are black anyway, because you do see that in the image. You'll see the green showing through over the black. Okay. And then I'm going to take kind of a russet colored pencil. I'm going to use this 89, and I'm going to add just a little bit of scribble just over those lines to the center there. And you see how that kind of rusty color is adding some nice contrast here to the petals. And then see how you can also just trace and draw out some of those veins, because they don't have a smooth petal like some flowers. If you look up close, you can see every little line. So I hope you can see this in the video. All I'm doing is just doing quick strokes, following the lines that are already in the illustration. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the same pencil and I'm going to pull a little bit of this rust into the leaves. And it's just going to make it look more realistic, because when you start looking up close, you know, a leaf is not just green. It has so many other little shades in it. And this brings a lot of unity to your image. It really warms that leaf up, pulling that just that one color out of the flower. And then you can put a little bit of that in the center over those white dots as well. And then I think my other image was a little bit brighter. I might have used a different yellow. So you can go over, since you have this beautiful tin of pencils, and I'll just do a few so that you can see. You see how much more golden that's turning? And I'm not having to use a blending stump or any solution. Not really any technique, just scribbling it over, but it just blends right together with those markers. So this is a really great way to change up the colors if you don't have a lot of alcohol markers. You get maybe just one tin of pencils, and then you have a lot of room to play with what you want those finished colors to look like. Okay? Finally, I got a little bit of a smudge on here from holding that button earlier, but then I would just put that on over it. And on the finished card, all I did was take my scissors and just trim this border to accent that angle, and then mounted it onto some black cardstock, and then finally the sweet corn. And that's the finished card. It's really easy to do. It's really fun to play with these pencils, and you just keep working on it and keep coloring as long as you like. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy these products. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more examples and inspiration. Thank you for watching today.